Here we are in our list of videos talking about lists. And we want to do something mildly interesting. All right, so this is our something interesting. Okay, so we're going to play cards. I have some code started here. We'll see what happens. Let's just start with this. Okay, so what's going to happen if I run this code? Nothing is printed. I have a cards variable there. Cards is a list of 52 things. Okay, so I'm thinking that there's 52 different cards, and so I have 52 different numbers. But I want to take those numbers and for each number have some particular card that I have in mind. So it's convenient to think of these numbers as the cards, but then I want to convert those numbers into the text of what the card is. Ace of clubs or nine of spades or something like that. Okay, so I have a function ready to go here, and we'll look at it just a little bit at a time. Okay, so I'm thinking that my number, so my cards here starts at 0, goes up to 51. So if I take that value, let's say I'm looking at 25, then I want to think of, if I'm dividing by 4, then that's telling me the number. So what is the smallest number there? 0 divided by 4 is 0. 51 divided by 4 is 12. That's 13 different numbers, and that is how many different cards there are, different types of cards there are in a deck of 52 cards. So you go ace, 1, 2, up to 13. There are 13 of these. If you don't know that, you can count them. So there's not actually a 1. So ace is 1 up to 10, and then 11, 12, 13. All right, so I can think of a number as being a card, and if I divide by 4, then that gives me something from 0 to 12. There's 13 different things. So I can have if I think of if I have a list of numbers here and I say, let's say numbers bracket 6, okay, then maybe that means I'm talking about the 7. Okay, so if I divide by 4, I get something between 0 and 12. If I mod by 4, let's see, I have a 1 there, a 2, 3, 0, 1. So if I mod by 4, I have 4 different values. So those could be like the suits. And so I have some particular order specified here. If I do suits bracket, what did I start with? 1. What will that print? That's a diamonds. So what I'm thinking I can do is have numbers bracket. Okay, I take some number and divide by 4. That's going to be between 0 and 12, so that would give me my numbers. And then my suits would be modding by 4 to give me my 4 different choices for suits. All right, and if I put in a different number, a different index, so if I put in here 33, all right, so divide by 4 gives me something 0 to 12. I mod by 4 gives me something 0 to 3. So if I run this, I have a function here that is just doing the, okay, divide by 4, mod by 4. This is the number strings, the number of the suit, number of the card, ace 1, 2, 3, and so on, what suit, and then this just puts that together. So if I do card string 25, there's my 7 of diamonds. What do you think I will get if I do card string of 0? So that should do 0 divided by 4, which is 0. It should pull out the ace. 0 mod 4, if I divide 0 by 4, I get a 0 remainder, so it should be a heart. And what will I get if I say 51? That should be the last thing here and the last thing here. So king of clubs. Let's see what happens if I take each. So I have cards variable that goes from 0 to 51, and I'm going to take each one and print that card string. So question is, am I going to get a printout of all possible cards? And what order will they be printed in? All right, so it looks like we got the 4 aces, and that's because the order that this prints, so let's print the X here as well and run it again. So that's just the numbers 0 up to 51. And what do I have here? I divide by 4 for the number, and that's going to be the same, 0, 1, 2, 3, integer division by 4. Each of them rounded down is 0. So we get the same thing here. And that's the order that we go in. And we actually do get through all of the cards. All right. So now I have this here. I'm going to do random, and there's a thing called random.shuffle, which will take a list. My cards is a list, and it will randomize. So I should get these printed out in a random order now. Okay, so I need to convert this to a list. It's a list-like thing, so I'm going to do this to convert it to an actual list. All right, there it looks like it's in somewhat of a random order at least. And I could stop printing the index there and just print the card string, because I think that looks okay. All right, so we have a deck of cards that has been shuffled. So let's say, why don't we put this into a function? So if I want to take a deck of cards, maybe I would do this. Okay, so I could start with the deck of cards, maybe shuffling the deck would be like this. and maybe printing the deck. Okay, so now I have code that isn't going to do anything right at the moment, but I can do these things. I can start with a deck of cards, I can shuffle it, I can print it. So then my actual program could be C for cards would be deck of cards, shuffle deck, print deck. Okay, now if I wanted to play a game, let's say that we're going to play so let's say that we wanted to play highest card wins, all right, with 2 players. Okay, so what we would want to do is we'd want to take from the deck and give it to 2 players. So I would want to have a player 1 that does something, and I would want to have a player 2 that does something. And I have my C, right, which is my numbers, and I can convert my numbers into this string representation. So what if I do something else that I could do? So let's say I'm going to make my player 1 be like this, player 2 be like this, empty list. Now I want to take the top item, the first item, out of the deck of cards. So how do I take this 23 out? There's different ways to do this. So one thing I can do, I want to put this onto player 1's hand, and I'm going to do C bracket 0. Okay, so C bracket 0 is the first thing there, and I'm putting it into player 1's list. Now I want to take it off of C, so del C bracket 0. So that would be taking 1 card and giving it to player 1. Let's do the same thing for player 2. Let's see if that works. That's del. All right, and let's see about our player 1, player 2, and C. And it should be the case that the 11 and the 7 don't appear in here, because the cards was exactly the numbers 0 to 51, and I just took 1 of each. I am going to make this into a function though. So I'm going to say deal cards, and I'm going to deal out of some cards into someone's hand. Alright, and what I had was like this, but I'm thinking that this is a hand. Okay, so in general, I have some cards. I'm going to do just like that. So then what I can do is deal cards, C, and player 1. So I don't have to repeat that code. C and player 2. Okay, now what is player 1? Player 2. And I could print those cards. So player 1, I have a function called card string print deck. Let's see, so I can print deck player 1. What print deck does is it takes some numbers and prints off our string version of those numbers in terms of thinking of them as cards. So we can do that with player 1 and player 2. So player 1 wins. If we want to have more cards, then we could give that as an extra parameter. So now I'm going to take out of this and I'm going to put into the hand, and I'm going to do it up to n times. So if I wanted to give them each 5, that would be like this. Now player 1, player 2, and I could print the deck as well. Okay. And I'm going to put something in here. So these are all my functions. This is my code that's actually going to start playing the game. I'm going to put in here random.seed before I do any randomness 7. So that if I run this multiple times, I'll get the same thing. And I'll go ahead and print these as well automatically. Right, and the first 5 of these were player 1, and then the next 5 were player 2. Alright, so this is a good start to something mildly interesting. We're using functions to keep track of our code, keep it organized, and we're using lists to keep